guys? Welcome back to the LTD Podcast. We're on episode 3 now.
Yes, sir. What up, guys? This is Dakota, the CEO of LTD PG Management.
Yeah, I'm Johnny Combs, Dispo guy.
I'm Christian, PR guy.
And Ryan, the COO of LTD PG Management.
PG. Yeah, we switched it up today. We got the man on the podcast today. So today we're going to be talking about the reality of real estate. I know social media, we make it look like everything's so easy. We're playing cornhole all the time. We're having a good time. But there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of bad things that happen that we deal with. So my first question, anyone can talk about it. Like, what's the craziest thing that you guys have seen when you've gone on a walkthrough? I know we've all gone to properties and seen some craziest stuff. So if anything jumps out to any of you right away.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a story. It was on Stofflet, and we were just walking through the house, and then I was actually like getting photos and recordings and stuff, and I was just like, there's kitty litter, there's poop all over the place. Like, oh, there's a dead cat, and she's like, well, don't look at that stuff. Like, that's what she says. Just like, forget about all that. Like, look at the good stuff. And like, they're always trying to sell the property and paint the vision. And it's funny when there's like, dead cats and feces and smells like cat litter and stuff. Like, we're just supposed to see past it.
Yeah, you gotta see how beautiful the place is.
100%. It did turn out beautiful, and it's funny because we actually do see the vision, but at the end of the day, it's all just, for me, it's a calculation. It's nothing emotional. It's very difficult, though, when you're starting to smell stuff because your emotional state has to do with the logic that you put behind it. So sometimes the smell of cats will make you think it's going to cost more money, when really, if you just detach from the smell and look at it, it's an extra couple $100 to get rid of the smell. But most people can't just like tell that. And then the other thing that I think about, just in scenarios like that, I think it's just funny whenever people are like, you just rip people off and like, you guys just take properties. Like, then on the other side of it, we go to sell the properties. Then we get made fun of, like, you should never be selling that property. You guys should be ashamed that you even own that thing. And like, so no matter which side we're on, whether we're buying it, then we're just lowballing people and we're screwing people over. Then when we go to sell it, it's like, oh, that's not worth that. It's never, you're never going to sell it and stuff. And you guys are horrible for ever even owning that thing. So no matter what, we're the bad guys.
Oh yeah.
Let's go.
I remember I went to one. Ryan sent me there. We didn't have keys. It was a situation where you almost had to break in or whatever to and then get the locks changed and everything. And I showed up. This guy didn't know that I was going to be there, and he pulled in right when I was there, and he got in my face and was cussing me out.
Oh my gosh.
And then I had to call Ryan. I was like, Ryan, I'm here with this guy. I was kind of like shaky or whatever. And then Ryan talked him down, and then when I went inside, he finally let me inside. He understood. I opened up like this little freezer, and there was probably 20 pounds of meat in there and the freezer was not on, and 100 flies flew out, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's disgusting. I was like, I love this. Yeah, this is awesome.
That is an unspoken rule that you never, ever, under any circumstances, ever open the refrigerator. You just get rid of it.
I want to so bad.
You just get rid of it.
I need to see what's inside.
Keep it closed and just dispose of it. We'll get a new one. It's not worth $1,000.
Yeah. This was a deep freezer. I wish I would have known that back then. But yeah, that smell is still burned into my nose. Same with the cat pee, dude. The amount of places I've gone to and the floor is just soaking wet with pee. I'm like, dude, I can't even eat dinner those days, man. It's rough.
It's bad.
You've gotten fleas quite a few times.
I have gotten fleas a couple times. My wife loves that. Yeah, I've had to shoot, almost put a bomb in my car because there's so many fleas in there too. I'm like, dude.
I've definitely gotten fleas too. I think all of us, anybody who's been at the properties, have gotten fleas. I mean, I walk them and they're all over my legs, and then I'm going to look at another house. I'm like, frick, dude. I'm walking multiple houses now. I'm like, I hope I don't give them fleas now.
You're just spreading them.
It is really crazy too how on walkthroughs, in all those scenarios that we described, more often than not, the people are living in there.
Yeah.
And it's all that stuff, and they're sleeping on it and eating on it, and it's odd to me, but that is just another refresher reminder that if we don't buy that house, they're gonna be living on literal crap and pee. And so, that's just another aspect of, like, I guess, a way we can, we are actually helping them. But
I feel bad for the kids, man. I think the kids.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I remember when I was an inspector, I was inspecting like this, I think it was like a duplex or triplex or something. It was exactly what you're describing. I think there were at least 2 or 3 kids who had to be 5 years old or less. And it was a situation where, like, the smell was horrible, flies absolutely everywhere. I think their utilities were off because they just didn't pay them. I think the electricity was off, so the way that they heated the house was just by turning their gas stove on. So it was just one of those situations, and it was like super cramped, super tight, trash everywhere. And just like, the adults are friendly enough. It's like, I don't, the guy was friendly enough to me while I was there, but like, just seeing the kids there, and I mean, what are the kids going to do? It's like, that's just where they live.
It's normal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I mean, obviously, hopefully 30 years from now, they'll be like, hey, remember when we lived in shit, actually?
Yeah.
But, like, in the moment, it's like, wow, this is actually, like, not good. This can't be good for these kids. So it's wild.
I know, yeah, that's one of the, there's so many times I go and, like, you can see that there's a kid's bedroom in there, and the pictures are up, and you're like, wow, okay. But it is nice to know, like, when you go out and see that, and then you come back, and, like, half the time I don't see the deals anymore, majority of the time, but it's still nice to know that, like, we are helping these people get out of these situations. And for some people, it's like they feel lost and they don't know what they're doing with their life, and then it kind of just goes over, and they're just lazy, like, they'll become a little lazy, and they just live how it is. But once they sell the house, it's a complete new opportunity for them. So I do think we are doing a pretty good service for these people.
It definitely gets them to the next step. That's what I always say, is it might not solve all your problems, but it's definitely going to get you to the next step. You made me think of another scenario, though. I remember this. This was funny. Adam Gehrig actually gave us this referral for free, and we're like, oh, that's weird. Like, usually, like, other investors aren't just like, yeah, here you go. Here's a free lead. I don't want to deal with it. Like, we're like, let's go deal with it. She's like, she doesn't have a phone number. You can't get a hold of her, so you have to just go door knock her. So Tony, Andrew, and I, we go and door knock this lady. She's probably got about 10 little dogs that are just nutso. Like crazy. And then as soon as we knocked on the door, she opened the door. We literally saw, what are those freaking nasty little things? Cockroaches. Just literally run across the door. Immediately, as soon as she opened it, just ran across from the inside. We go in. We're backed in a corner. The dogs are all going crazy, like barking at us. I literally got a stick that's just like holding them back, like a broom that we grabbed. I'm like, let's just look at the house really quick, and like, we'll get you an offer. I'm like, let's just see the basement. Trying to hold the dogs off, and like Andrew, like, we're all freaking out because we're about to get bit. I look down at the dog food, and there's cockroaches all over in the dog food, eating the dog food. So the dogs have been eating the bugs, and like, it's just all over the place. I said, you know what? I don't need to see the basement. Let's just get out of here. And like, we're just like, we don't even really want the house. We'll give you $10,000 for it. Like, it was in 2008, and dude, it was so bad. The other thing that she said that made me just want to vomit was she talked about how she cooked food for the church and stuff.
What?
Yeah, and she brought food in. I'm like, oh my goodness. That makes me never want to eat anybody else's food ever. Yeah, because like, it was one of the nastiest houses I've ever been into. Like, literally just cockroaches absolutely everywhere. So that one was one of the worst ones I've ever seen.
Adam was like, they'll make an offer on that.
And we did.
we will make an offer. It would, like, dude, if we could have got her out of that situation, it would have been better. She didn't take it. And honestly, I didn't want to go back. But, like, that was so hard because, like, that lady's just living like that. Like, they got to be eating her while she's sleeping and stuff. Like, it's got to be.
Gosh, dude. That's absolutely insane. Do you have any that come to mind, Ryan?
The one that I think about is less disgusting, yet although I do have like a long list of those. But there was one specific one where, long story short, we talked to a guy. We said, hey, here's about what we're thinking. We go out to the property because we needed to see it first. He said there was some foundation issues, basically. And when we went out there, we actually committed to the same price, I believe, that we told him up front. So we didn't go look at it and say, hey, yeah, it is a little worse than we thought. Like, sometimes we have to do, because like Dakota was saying, they paint the vision when they're on the phone with you. So we went out there, we looked at it. It was good enough to take the same risk we thought before we went out there. And then he was like super mad that we made the offer, which is weird. Andrew tells the story a little different than me, but he tried to fight us like multiple different times. He was getting in my face and yelling at us and telling us we were F words and B words and probably other words with other letters. But basically, I just told him, like, hey, we don't have to buy your house. We just came out here because you said that if everything worked out, you'd be ready to move forward. And then he was like, I'm just done with it. And he stormed off. So he was like, it's a house that was, I think it was like in the 03.
Yeah, 03 or 06.
Yeah, he was like walking from, it's one of those where like, this is my perception, so I don't want to, like, might not be the truth. I had a feeling he was on drugs, and normally in that area, if you're walking from house to house to house without knocking on doors, they all know each other, and they're either selling or doing drugs. And so basically that's what he was doing the whole time we were meeting him. He walked in 3 or 4 different properties, and then that's what he did. At the very end, he's like, yeah, just forget it, I'm out. When we told him, like, hey, we're making the same offer. And then with it, like, on our way back to the office, he called Andrew and he wanted to do the deal. And then we ended up
was
doing
it on
the
Hannah?
deal. It was on Harvester.
Harvester, yes, I remember that.
Yeah, so he ended up calling in, wanting to do the deal, and then it was a fight to get him to the table and everything. But yeah, it was weird.
And then even after we signed, he was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he his stuff, all of his stuff, like it was full of stuff. There was not anything, but he was just worried about the stuff.
Yeah.
I really feel like what we do gives us a peek into the minds of people that in other jobs you may not see. So for instance, like, when I worked at Jimmy John's, somebody who lives in a house like we've been describing could come to the drive-thru and I would have a nice interaction. And for all I knew, they were the nicest person in the world and they had their lives together and all was cool just because I'm just giving them a sandwich. But with what we deal with, this is literally these people's lives, because obviously a home is more or less the center of most people's lives, a lot of people's lives. So like your home is a reflection of who you are in a strange way, of like what your mental state is. And so in a very interesting, strange way, we meet people when we meet people in one of the most representative areas of where they're at in their heads. And so like for someone where their mind space is like they're just not even seeing the cockroaches eating their food, like that's just a peek into like just where they're at. And I don't even necessarily think that these people are bad or good. It's just like, wow, it's amazing how that person who was a child at one point, just like probably like a beautiful little child running around in the world, has now, through their own decisions and through influences and all this other stuff, ended up in a place where there's cockroaches running through their food and their house is covered in literal piss, shit, and vomit. And it's like, it's just, to me, it really makes me just aware of like how easily it would be for me to fall into that by making little choices all along the way. Because it's probably at any one of these houses, it probably wasn't like one day this person woke up and now the house is covered in all this crap and it's probably like the one time the cat pees on the floor and the person just didn't clean it up, or the one time they saw like, oh wow, the litter box is full and they don't clean it, or they don't, and but it's making that decision to just ignore that one thing, but you do that 1,000 times over 10 years and now you have a house that's basically unrecognizable from how it started. And so for me, it's almost like, I don't know, it's like not straight fear, but it's like kind of inspires like, oh, like, wow, I really got to pay attention to what's going on around me, because it'd be so easy just to like, oh, just let that thing go. I'll just get to that later. And I do that. I'm not perfect about that, but that little decision is how you get to the point where like now your house is just, it's horribly disgusting. And I don't know, it just really makes me think about like, wow, what does it take to get to that place? Because I'm confident that most of these people are probably like still trying to be good people. Like they're not trying to they didn't want to end up in a situation like this. And nonetheless, these little decisions all along the way, here they are. And so just kind of confronting that reality of how am I having those things in my own life that could end up like that if I don't take care of them today. It's very eye-opening, I would say.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of different situations too. I mean, I think about that, like the people who are in shock, they're, divorce or somebody died, close to them died, and, like usually they're in some shock. So it's like the worst spot. They just like, it's not even at the forefront of their mind, when somebody close to them dies. So it's definitely like a hard place that we're meeting people. So we're not seeing the best versions of people all the time. And I think they recognize that a lot of times too. Sometimes they get very mad at us, and then we're just like, hey, like we're here to help you. Yeah, we're here to help you, and then once they realize that, a lot of times they come back and apologize. It's whenever we meet them with that same anger and stuff that usually it doesn't go very well. And that's obviously something that we've worked through up and downs and just, having different conversations. But a lot of times if we remind them that, hey, dude, we're not your enemy, we're here to help you. We've been very upfront, we're very clear on what we do. Then I think it makes it a lot better. And I want to say we do buy good properties too. I mean, how many properties have we bought that are just perfect? Nice. Somebody's freaking just too wealthy and they're like, yeah, I don't want to mess with this. Like, I mean, we buy some really nice houses. Yeah, there's like, you know what, I don't want to mess with it. So.
Oh, yeah, 100%. You sort of touched on one of the questions I wanted to ask, just like handling emotions and stuff. Like, has this job or has being in real estate made you guys mentally tougher? And then I will follow up on that and just say, like, for me, I think it has because I've been cussed out in person a good amount of times, and I've had to maintain my anger. And I feel like it's made me be able to diffuse a situation a lot more, like, just in general. Like, I can talk to these people, and they can be cussing me out. I'm like, it's all right, man. Like, I totally get why you feel that way. Let me call Dakota up real quick or something. Like, it's definitely made me feel mentally tougher and not, like, more... like initially you want to get super defensive when someone checks you like that. And I know you guys, especially being on the phone all day, I've overheard Ryan talk to some people. I'm like, wow, I can't believe some of these people talk to you guys like that. So I guess, has this job made you guys mentally tougher?
I would say by default, yes. And if you guys say no, you're lying. You probably wouldn't be working here. But yeah, you had there's only like so much you can take before you start to get callous that over, really. So now it's like when I hear you saying that too, like mental toughness, it's not about like a strength as much as the experience. Mm-hmm. And so now, like, I've experienced it so many times that it's like, if it happens right now, I'm not going to be thrown off center because it's like, it's normal. Mm-hmm. So I would say, yeah, you almost have to, or else you wouldn't be able to, stay here long term.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like when I first started here and people would be super pissy at you on the phone, it would kind of affect your emotions a little bit. And Absolutely. Now I feel like you probably have 10 conversations a day where someone is pissed and you were totally good. Like, you're totally fine.
It took some time. But
yeah.
Well, what I was thinking is, like, the most important thing, in my opinion, is to be able to have all those conversations and then not have it affect you or in your day. Mm-hmm. Because just because somebody else is upset doesn't mean that you have to be. So you don't have to take the same energy as they are, which a lot of people do. And that's why they say the power of being around people, because we do our energy affects other people. But if you have like this kind of like guard up in a way, or you know how to defuse and handle the situation, it's kind of like it does feel just like a test. It's like, all right, here's a fun test, because we know the result that we want to get to. We know that getting emotional upset won't get us to that result. So now we got to, it's a 10-minute test. But when you have 10 of those in a day, and then you're still able to go home happy, that's when you really know that you're making some progress here, because that is very difficult to do when somebody's just mad at you all day. You're staying accountable. Like, there's another balance too, but just still going home happy. The other balance of it is you're not getting walked all over the place either. It's not just like we sit down and we say, hey, yeah, you can have whatever you want. Sure, we'll pay your taxes for you, even though you haven't paid them and we told you that up front. It's on the contract. Like, it's letting them know things that are not necessarily what they want to hear, holding them accountable, and still maintaining the posture that we do want them to be happy. We do want them to have a good experience. We do want to still have this whole thing be a great thing that we all did. But at the end of the day, we sign a contract, they're adults, we're going to hold you accountable, we're going to have some grace, and then finding the balance of all of it is it's fun.
Sorry to interrupt, but I feel like, I really respect your guys' ability to just kind of turn it, just get it out of your system, because you can even relate it to this podcast. The past 2 podcasts we've done, something crazy has happened right before, and we're all kind of moody. Then we come in here and we're like, okay, we're good. I feel like that's something we're all.
What was the first one?
The first one, someone had to be let go.
Oh yeah. I remember that right away.
Yeah,
No, the other one.
The other one.
Pretty sure they were
Yeah, the other one somebody
yeah,
left.
Yeah, like literally probably
5 minutes before.
5 minutes before both of them.
Both of them.
So nothing like that happened today, so we're good.
Yeah, somebody got fired and somebody quit. Like right before the podcast last time.
Yeah,
Starting off strong, man.
Yeah, the podcast has kind of been a disaster at the beginning.
Let's go,
No, I'm just
dude.
kidding.
No, I mean, like to me again, like I don't know. I guess optimism is something that's very, very important. And optimism, my optimism comes from faith, just like faith in God. And so, like when you have optimism of a future that's so far ahead that you know is going to be good, and like we've already won, it's like, dude, this stuff honestly doesn't matter that much. Like it's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. It's like we're gonna be okay. And like when you have that clarity and that piece of knowing that things are gonna be good, even if they're not good in this moment, I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to, and helps me a lot of like, all right, this bad thing happened, but I know it's not going to continue to happen. And even if it does continue to happen, I know it's going to end and things are going to be good. And worst case scenario is like we're going to die. So
That is true, yeah.
yeah, that's literally what I think about whenever things are going really bad. I'm like, a couple years from now, I probably won't even think about this like one thing that's making me upset right now.
It's funny because obviously my role is to be aware of and in the details, and now I there are lapses where I notice I carry it home too, but little stuff here upsets me. I'm in the mindset of like, oh, little things are a problem, they're going wrong, and they're a big deal. And then I go home, there's a little thing that happens, problem, big deal, oh no. And that's what I've been doing over the past month or so actually, is actually asking myself in that moment, especially at home, like, in 3 days, am I even going to remember this? And most of the time, it's no. It's like, yeah, this is not even going to be something you think about. So it is interesting, yeah. But being able to take that step back is certainly a practice, not necessarily a skill, but yeah, a practice.
Exactly.
Totally practice.
It's so funny that the dichotomy of everything goes back to what Johnny said. That one decision that you make can lead to slowly doing those things. So it's so funny how like the little details matter and they don't. It's like, how much does that matter? How many times do you have to do that until you're actually off in your life? How long does it stack up until you're like, shoot, I missed the gym 2 days in a row, and then now it's 3 days. Now, how many days until it's actually a problem? So it's always an interesting dichotomy to absolutely everything in life, and I think that all of us have to answer it for ourselves because there is no freaking black and white, and that's the hardest part about life is when I was young, dude, everything was so black and white. Now I realize that absolutely almost nothing is black and white. Because, yeah, we can get off on those little things that we do, and then we get off track. We do that for too long, well, now it's a problem. But a couple days here or there, not really that big of a deal.
Yeah, it really isn't black and white, is it?
Never.
That's wild. Yeah, I would say it's like the phrase that I like is like there's a dynamic tension between so many things, between like, okay, when do you just let this thing go? And then when do you need to like triple down and focus on the details? When are you being too detail-oriented, so now it's perfectionism, and now the perfectionism is stopping you from making progress? And then when is it just like, okay, you ignored all the details, and now you're screwed because you ignored the details that matter. So it's I don't know. The reason I call it a dynamic tension is because life is always in the present, and it's always evolving and changing and adapting. So so how could it be black and white when like things like life is movement in a way, like life is energy and movement and like flowing and stuff. And so the tension between those two, whatever two dichotomies, whatever two ends of the spectrum are always going to be sort of shifting and moving and evolving, especially just with wherever you're at. And there's seasons for everything. Like there's seasons for like, okay, I need to be hyper detailed about everything. And then there's seasons where it's like, man, I just got to let all this go and just let myself flow towards what's next.
Yep.
So, and then just to answer your question about that, I will say for me personally, I wish there was a way for me to somehow measure exactly how emotional I got 10 years ago about things and then compare it to how emotional I get about things today, because I feel in my subjective experience that it's the same level. Like when I'm upset, I'm like the same level of upset as I feel like I probably was 10 years ago, despite going through all these things. So for me, it's almost less of like, oh, I just don't feel this stuff. And I'm not even saying that you guys don't feel this stuff anymore. I'm saying for me, like to a great degree, it feels exactly like the same amount of anger or stress or fear or like the intensity of the emotion for me, hasn't really changed. So, like, when someone's pissed off at the phone at me, like, I actually feel about as defensive or upset or whatever as I feel like I always have. And it really has been more of, like, number one, just learning to, I don't know if endurance is the right word. I think to some extent there is an endurance to it. Sort of like if you're in a long race, you kind of have to just endure the miles. Like if you're in a marathon, you just have to, at some point, it's like you're in mile 13, you just have to keep enduring to get to the next step. And so I think for me, I've learned, callous is the word that you use, like I've learned to just sort of endure the feelings, and I'm still very much practicing, like, okay, how can I think about this differently? How can I move my body differently? How can I talk to someone? How can I actually process through this where I'm not just sitting here enduring it and then like not actually dealing with it? How can I actually productively use this energy that I'm feeling and sort of like whatever, transmute it into something that's useful? But I guess for me, like the main point is that like I actually don't know if I feel any less upset when someone's mad at me. I actually feel very much like I probably did when I was a kid, but I think it's just as I've gained experience, like it's just I'm becoming more okay with that and more accepting of that and maybe not holding on to it as much. So maybe the intensity of the feeling is similar, but maybe I'm learning to like let go of it sooner so that I can move on to the next call. I can not bring it home and take it out on my girlfriend. I can not ruin the rest of my day. Like, so the practice that Ryan was talking about of like, yeah, I have to practice just like letting it go, even though it still feels really big in the exact moment, at least for me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like when that stuff happens, it's totally normal to still get emotional about it. Like, we're not just emotionless freaks here, but maybe Ryan.
Ryan's a freak.
That reminds me of the quote I shared with you guys. And so this is something that Lady teaches her kids, but it reminds me very much of what Johnny said. It says that all feelings are valid, but all behaviors are not. And so that's what it really comes down to, is a lot of times people think that we don't feel the emotions or experience the same thing that other people experience. And I really get that. I mean, honestly, with Ryan, I'm sure he does too. But with people, a lot of people see me and they think that I'm like this robotic person who just wakes up and like wants to go to the gym and like wakes up early and just like does this stuff. When really I have the same emotions, the same fight, the same struggle as every single buddy else. I just choose different actions. Same thing. You can get emotional, feel that thing, like your blood pressure go up, and choose a different action. So that's something that just makes me think about is like, yeah, you feel the emotions. It's okay to feel the emotions. It's okay to feel scared, to feel angry, to feel all that stuff. But what do you do whenever you do feel those emotions is the difference between the people.
Yeah, your outcomes are going to be completely different if you take different choices. Because I mean, I'm sure many people wake up scared or angry or upset or happy or joyful and all the emotions. But like at the end of the day, what you actually do is going to bring you what the actual results in your life are to a very, very large extent.
So what do you guys do then whenever someone does tick you off, like on the phone? What do you do to not manage that, but like do you do something specifically when you feel that, or is it different every time?
It depends on what level I'm at. You mean like me at a level 10? Like if I get really pissed off and I start actually like going to where I can't control my emotions anymore?
Sure, yeah. Why not?
What I do whenever I'm in there, honestly, I don't name call, I don't talk down to them. I just get very logical and I state my point very, you guys have seen me get mad, but I get very passionate with the way that I'm saying it. So it's my tonality that really switches, and that's the most difficult part is when my tonality switches. Doesn't matter whether I'm right or wrong, they're not going to admit it because now I've become a challenger to them, and then I basically will make them feel stupid. And so, like, if they're going to admit that they're wrong, they would have to feel beneath me and stupid in order to do that. So that's what I do whenever I get to a really high, angry state, which is, in my opinion, not the absolute worst thing because I've seen some people who just name call, they talk down to people and, like, they do it. I just do it all with logic and by stating the scenario in a very passionate, angry way where I'm like, no, this happened, then you did this, then you said this, and then this, and I just like, and then what's funny is usually they're just like, no, this happened, and then they say something different. We usually find this one thing that's at tension. Or I'm like, you're right, I did not consider that, because I'm still able to think, which is like, again, another thing that I've seen a lot of other people be able to do when they're in that emotional state, is if they state something, I'm like, I'm wrong, you're right. Like, it's so, in my opinion, very difficult when you're in that state to admit that you're wrong. I'm still able to do it, it's just very difficult. But if they state something, they're like, no, actually this happened, I'm like, oh, frick, yeah, you're right. And then you look really stupid because now I just got all emotional and upset, even though they're the ones who are in the right. That's why I think it's a lot better to stay calm and be able to just ask questions instead of like stating your position in a very angry, logical way. Because when you're wrong, you are really wrong and you look really dumb. Yeah. Because now you just treated this person bad, even though you were the one that was in the mistake.
What's interesting too is, I don't know if it's the same for you, but basically, like at a level 10, I do a similar thing in a different way. So I just want to shut them out, and then I'm by default, I'm right. Everything they say is wrong, and I'm not receptive to any of it. So it's like my way of like shutting them out, basically. But the opposite of that for me, out of 1, is also true. Like, what do I do out of 1 when I am calm? I don't shut them out. I completely open up. And then I'm like, hey, I actually am not super involved right now, and I'm coming to you to get clarification. So, like, what is happening in your head, and where are we trying to go, basically? And so it is interesting how, 10 is the complete opposite, where, like, I don't care how you feel about it or what's going on. This is what I think, and it's correct. And then, me handling it effectively is the complete opposite of that, which is cool.
And, I think the thing that I hear beneath both of those things, because I absolutely feel this, is I think for me, if I'm wrong, then I feel unsafe, because I think when I was a kid, there's a million reasons why, but like if I feel like I'm wrong, then on some deep level, like, I'm not okay. I'm like, if I don't see the world correctly, then something horrible is going to happen to me, because I'm not seeing the world properly. And so when I'm in that moment where someone's like telling me that I'm wrong or whatever the situation is, then I'm going to like fight to be right, because if I'm wrong, then I'm scared, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be okay. So I think like that's, for me personally, that's kind of what underlies a lot of those situations, is like, just like, I actually genuinely do want to be aligned with what's true and what's correct and stuff. And I don't even think that that's bad. Like, I don't think the desire to be right is bad inherently, because like, if I'm just living my life and I'm always wrong, well, what's that going to get me? Like, how is that going to help anybody? So I don't think that being right, being correct is a wrong thing. But when I start to like cling to it as like, okay, if I'm wrong, then like, oh my gosh, my whole world's going to fall apart. That's how it feels to me. And so I guess to answer your question, like, what do I do? I think on some level, what I personally do is I think I resort more to just sort of like quieting down and like, I mean, being very emotional, but also trying very, very hard to listen, and like trying very hard to understand like what's actually going on here. Like, what is the actual truth that's underlying this argument, this conversation that's gone south? Like, what's actually going on here? What's driving this? Why am I feeling this way? Why are you feeling this way? And like what it actually reminds me of something he says, is like, we probably want the same thing, which is like to be connected, to be on the same page. If we're talking about like customers and clients, like, we want to be on the same page. We want to be in alignment with our goals. Like, that's what we want with our customers. Like, hey, you want the same thing that we do. Let's get to the goal together. And so just like reminding myself of that, of like, okay, this person and I probably want to get to the same end goal. So like, whatever's happening now, like, what is going to get us actually to that spot where, like, if it's with my girlfriend, I feel connected and loved and safe again, or if it's with a customer or a business partner or something, how can we get aligned and back on the same page? But I think the shutting up, or like the not shutting down, but just like quieting down myself and like not fighting back immediately, has given me the ability to listen more, and then that space allows me to actually like get a handle on what's going on, as opposed to just immediately fighting back for what I think is right or what I want.
You know what's funny is that's how I find a partner, or how I found a lot of what I was looking for in my partner now, my wife, which is crazy to say, but just not looking for me being right or her being right and attaching to that. That really bothers me when people attach to that. I want to look for what is right. And that's something that I feel like, honestly, Ryan and I do very well is like, I'm not attaching myself to what I said. I'm letting you know why I'm thinking that way, but I'm also open to a different way. And that's something that I think is very important. I'm going to explain to you all the logic, all the reasonings, and all of those things of why I came up with this. So if there's something that you're seeing that's off, just tell me, because I want to know. I genuinely want to know. And I also obviously believe that I'm right in this scenario for all these reasons that I'm going to list off. It's when people say things, and I'm not going to say his name, but when it's like, well, I just feel that way. Why? Well, I don't know. Just think that. Okay, well, that makes it very difficult to help you to see it from a different direction or a different way if you're just like, well, I just feel this way. And Nicole and I have had some funny fights like that where she's like, She likes to wait because I do get a little escalated, especially whenever I'm talking about stuff. And like she says that she has this information. She'll be like, "Well, I don't think that's true." I'm like, I literally cannot think of any scenario how I could be wrong in this. And come to find out there wasn't. I was actually correct in this scenario that I'm thinking of. But she's like, no, it was something so stupid. But like we're talking basically about the mail and how it comes to Florida. And then she said that the mail from Indiana was getting sent to Florida. And then she just stopped that. And so now she's saying the mail will automatically go back to Indiana. Like, how would the mail that gets mailed to Florida go to Indiana now? And she's like, because we canceled it. I'm like, I understand that. But if somebody writes it out to our address in Florida, there's nothing that's forwarding it there. And she's like, because we stopped sending it. I'm like, okay, I'm not explaining this very much. So I'm like, can you explain to me how it would get there? And she's like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm like, oh my God, so you have this information that I'm not seeing, that you're saying there's another way that it will get there. I don't understand how it's going to get there. So please, please, please explain it to me. She's like, we're not. So literally, we're on a plane ride too, and that's why she didn't want to talk about it, because apparently I was like getting a little loud. And the whole next 2 hours, the only thing, I swear to you, the only thing that's on my mind is, okay, if it goes there, how would it get? And like, I'm literally just like, I cannot figure this out. I'm like, is there a scenario that it could get there? Yeah. And then when we get in the car, we talk about it for 15 minutes and find out, no, she was misunderstanding. And there's no possible way that the mail, she's like, oh, I didn't know you meant it got mailed to Florida. I just thought you meant if it was getting sent there, it went down to Florida, it'll go back. I'm like, I understand that you thought that. I let you know that I understood that. So I did understand your perspective. You were not understanding mine, and I said it 5 different ways, and so it's always funny. But anyway, she does do a good job at making sure that we're trying to find out the actual truth of a scenario instead of attaching to right or wrong. She's a stubborn one with it, but eventually after a couple hours, then usually we come to a good resolution.
I was going to say, I feel like I'm almost similar in that way to her. It's like, I don't want to talk about it right away, but it's because I want to think about it more. I like to, because when I get mad, yeah, you want to go to the name calling. You want to just, you're going to end up saying something that is going to offend the other person. So for me, like Jonathan, I just kind of get quiet, but I don't shut myself off. I'm just like, okay, we need to really think about what the heck I'm going to say. Because whatever I do say, like, I'm mad right now. Because, like, when I'm mad, yeah, I want to say something so mean just to be like, I got you. But if you just give yourself some time to really think about it, I feel like that's maybe what she was doing. Because you being so passionate about it, she's like, okay, let me take a step back and think about this.
The funniest part is I wasn't even mad.
No, I know.
I'm just like trying to figure it out.
I'm like, hypersensitive people, bro. Like I'm confident that there are so many emotions that I interpret as like someone's mad at me that it's not actually true. I think I'm just hypersensitive to that because of my whatever makeup and childhood and all this stuff. So I think it is interesting because I know that you probably weren't mad in that situation, but it's pretty likely that she felt like you.
Yes.
Which is just, that's so weird. It's interesting how that just people interpret different things through their own filters.
I know. I always tell her that. And then she's like, well, you're mad. And I'm like, please do not tell me.
Don't tell me how I feel.
Yeah, please don't tell me how I feel. because I'm telling you
I'll
that
tell you how
I
I
am
feel.
definitely not mad in any way. I'm trying to understand. I'm painting for you all the logic. I understand what you're saying, and I'll even explain to you your positioning to show you that I understand what you're saying, which I think is that's a very effective way. Like, please tell me what you heard when I said that. Like, that's something that I practice saying, and like, I want to say that because I'm like, hey, I want to make sure that you are understanding. I'll be honest. I feel like 90% of the time they are not understanding what I'm saying, and I do understand what they're saying, and I'm trying to explain to them that I do understand it. But the interesting thing is I do feel like people with your guys' personality types, even if I say it and I say it in a very comprehensive way, because of your emotional state, you're not able to filter through the logic of it because you're so emotional that you can't, like, from what I've seen, and usually it's more prone to, seems like women, especially, they get an emotional state, all logic goes out the window. It's like there's no, like, they just can't even do it because of the way that I'm saying it. They get flooded, and now they can't even think about it. All they think is he's yelling at me. That's the only thing that goes through their
That's how
brain.
it feels to them in that specific moment. That's how it feels.
Yeah, like, he's just yelling at me. He's mad.
What's her PI?
I cannot remember. I think it was the same thing as whatever Raylene was.
Sarah's a collaborator, so like we learned through our testing comparisons that like, yeah, my girlfriend, she all thinking is emotional, and mine is all logic. But then we have weird intricacies where like if it's in the dishwasher, right? In my room, everything is stacked, straight, organized, folded, etc. But in the dishwasher, my logic is it's all getting cleaned, just put it in there. Who cares? She's the opposite. Her room does not look like mine, but then the dishes have to be perfect. And I'm like, it's so effing confusing. So funny. The way that works, but it is I do have to be mindfully aware of like which situation it is and how to approach it. But
So is a collaborator deemed more emotional thinking?
yeah, they just want to feel happy. They want to bring people together and to do what we want to do and support the vision, stuff like that.
Okay. That makes sense, actually.
Jonathan and Christian were one of the few that were more collaborative.
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought we looked at that. I mean, it could be true, but I thought mine was. Are you saying the specific PI was collaborator or like?
No, not collaborator, but yeah, it was like something
okay,
where you were at
I
was
can
more
see that.
collaborative than it was like independent.
Yeah,
whereas
yeah.
most of us
Sure.
in this place, usually probably because the leader who picks the people usually picks people more like him.
themselves.
And then what's funny is all of them so there's the self one that you actually are, and then the one that you believe you have to be. Every single person in the company believed that they had to be more like self-determined and independent because that's just what we kind of promote here. Because I promote a lot of if you want your life to be a certain way, you got to fight for it. And I really do believe that. Like, we're going to be here to help. We're going to give you opportunities. But at the end of the day, like, it's your responsibility to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and your life. We're going to be here to help, but it's only your responsibility. So that's why I told other people, and like I'll tell you guys, if this is not the place that's going to get you to your goals, it's your responsibility to leave and make sure that you're taking care of yourself to get you to where you want to go. Because the worst thing would be staying here and then blaming the people around you that they're the reason of why you didn't get to where you want to go. Like, that's, to me, bullcrap. And the other side of it is I believe that we have an environment that, because of our independent and our high growth mindset, that being around us will actually make all of you guys better, hit your goals easier, and then hopefully hold you to accountability to where you see other people who are better in other areas. Like, you guys are more collaborative. So then we get to see, what does it look like when you're more collaborative and actually help other people? Then you get to see other people who are very highly driven. You're like, dang, what does it look like when somebody's just freaking waking up and getting their stuff done, regardless of if they're hanging out with people or not? You get to see both sides of relationships, of people at different money aspects, people in different levels of spirituality, all of it. So it kind of helps for all of us, in my opinion, to make us all better.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think if we were all the same score, it would be really bad.
We'd all have a bunch of Andrews in here.
Yeah.
That
would be terrible.
Yeah, that would be actually pretty bad. We would probably not stay together.
It would just fall apart.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how it eventually would happen.
We'd have a lot of contracts, but we'd probably
Yeah,
have a lot of court dates or invoices.
No, I think what we'd have is we'd have a lot of different businesses. I mean, like, like honestly, we just like have a bunch of freaking people.
Are they making money? I don't know.
Like a hodgepodge Frankenstein of businesses.
Yeah.
Which kind of happened anyway. Like that kind of happened anyway.
Well, I mean, dude, I swear, dude. I mean, because you are the CEO and the owner and founder of this business, like, dude, this thing has to be massively a reflection of you. Like, it just has to be. And so it's no wonder that, like, some of the earliest people that came in who are still, like Andrew, it's like, he's highly independent because he's kind of, in a way, he's not you, but like there's like a personality reflection in the people that you bring in, like you just said. So I just think that's so interesting. And so that means to me, you've clearly had to learn how to be more collaborative because like having 15, 20 people on a team is inherently collaborative. Otherwise, you're not on a team. It's like you're just individuals who are, I mean, I guess could seem like a team, but then at the end of the day, if something goes south, then everybody separates. So like if like the thing that's allowed you to build a team where we all actually stay together, despite if times get tough, it's because you've actually had to like learn and like grown in that area, which I think is pretty cool because then it reflects in the business of like, okay, we're not just all splitting up when it gets hard. It's like, okay, we're actually figuring out a way to come back together, even though maybe for you, your natural instinct is like, I'm just going to go do it for myself.
Dude,
but you've really learned over a time.
That's been the absolute hardest part. I was literally just talking about that, about the guys with the goals yesterday. That's the hardest part for me. So like, why don't you get in and sign some contracts and do this stuff? I'm like, guys, we've gotten to a point now that my highest and best use is not for me to do this stuff. Like, I can sign a couple contracts, and I think it does help a little bit, but me helping clear the vision, set the goals, and push them actually gives us more as a company than if I go and do the work itself, which is honestly a lot harder for me because I have to use skill set that I've not developed and I've not used to the same amount. I can freaking go sign up contracts. I would be less nervous to go and sign 30 contracts this month if that would actually contribute to helping the team the most. But it probably wouldn't because then it'd be probably taken from them. They'd get down. It'd affect it. There's ripples of everything that we do. And so, yeah, you're right. It's totally changed. But my biggest, highest, and best use of time is to motivate, help, clear the vision, like all of that stuff for all of you guys. And that's actually going to help the most, which is way more difficult for me than doing this stuff.
You're building up people, which is like it's way more nuanced to figure out if you're helping a person than if you're getting a contract. Because once you get a contract, it's like, boom, I got it.
Black and white.
But it's like, if you're working to like pour into like however many people, because like having 5 people who are at their max level is going to be so much more effective than you being at your max level and then everyone else is just sort of whatever. So like you just said, you pouring into the 5 or however many people so that they're all on the same page so we can build that energy together is going to take us so much farther. But it is way less, it feels less tangible because you're like, is this person being helped? Am I helping this person? It's leadership. It's not like a contract with a signature on it. It's a person. So
so I don't feel a sense of accomplishment either. I get no accolades. I don't feel accomplished. I don't know if I'm hitting it or not. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. Like, yeah, it's very interesting because, like, it was more black and white, and I knew if I was winning or not. There's no scorecard on how all of you guys are doing or how you're emotional, how much, there's just no scorecard.
If Sean is watching this, they're going to be pissed.
Yeah, they're going to be like,
probably have multiple
scorecard.
Well, they do, and then what's interesting about the scorecards is even then it feels like sometimes it gets a little repetitive to where it's like, because you hit that, are you hitting your goals? Or I don't know. And so, like, that's where we have to, we're continuing to progress towards it, but it's always more gray than what it was before. When it's just you and you're creating it and I know my targets, trust me, I hit it. When now it's here, dude, like the targets that were there, if we don't hit them, to me, we just had, this is a great example. We had the biggest month we had last month. I'm still upset because we didn't hit the motherfucking goal that we set out to for the month. So I'm like, we had more contracts than we've ever had. 47 contracts last month. Everybody's like, holy crap, that's crazy. I'm like, well, we were supposed to get 61, and we didn't come in the last couple days. Yeah. Even though they did the most that they've ever done, I'm like, dang, that's freaking awesome. And like now that I put it in perspective, I'm like, yeah, kudos to them for freaking showing up and doing that. But for me, it's very difficult because if I was in that position and I just look at the goal, I'm like 61, okay, we got 2 more days. And if I don't hit it this month, guess what? I got to go even harder next month and hit a goal that we still didn't hit this month. So let me try to get here. That way I can hopefully hit the goal next month, because if not, otherwise I'm going to have to do more. And so anyway, that was just my mindset. And so I tried to motivate. I tried to send out the text and do whatever I could. But at the end of the day, it just pissed me off. And they hit the most they've ever hit. So we should, that's just framing, because we should celebrate that. I think it is worth celebrating, which we did, that's freaking awesome that they hit the most we've ever hit. Let's celebrate that. And we didn't hit the goal that we set out to hit, so.
And it's interesting, how it adds maybe a layer of complexity, because if your goal was for you to hit 61, then you would know I either hit this goal or I did not. Yep. But when you have a goal that it's 15 people have to hit this goal,
yep.
It's way harder to pin down why exactly did this goal not get hit, because there's potentially thousands, millions of reasons why. It could be super simple, where it's it's just this one reason why we didn't hit it.
I don't think it'll ever be that.
Right, exactly. It's very unlikely, because the more people you have involved with a singular goal, the more challenging it is to really figure out. Because at the end of the day, just figuring out what is the bottleneck, and it almost becomes more about the bottlenecks, because if we have 15 people who all want to hit this goal, then it's less of okay, maybe these people don't want to hit it, and it could be that there's just this bottleneck that we haven't figured out, and once we remove the bottleneck, now we just flow. But it's it's kind of mysterious, because what's the bottleneck? We're looking through our KPIs, we're looking through our charts, we're where's the bottleneck? And so that's just, what a challenge. Which is exciting. It's exciting, but it's also it's a little bit harder to grasp, because you're not I can just fix this myself. It's
right.
Frick, I have to get everybody together to fix this collaboratively somehow.
And it's effort. I mean, sometimes it's just straight up effort. Mm-hmm. And so, but then the question is, let's just say it is effort, and then I motivate, and we get the effort up, and then you burn out, and then everybody quits. Seriously, because you can burn out too. We can push really hard, work 7 days a week, but for how long?
Yeah.
We have to make sure it's sustainable too. And so, if we hit this thing, that's what I'm always questioning is okay, I can go for a long time, but when I get burnt out, dude, it's not good. It'll take me, honestly, I could probably go for a year and a half. My resiliency is pretty dang high, but most people can't go that long. And if they do, then it'll crush their lives, and that's not what we want either. So it's an interesting thing, because I want to hit this goal so freaking bad, and I want their lives, their emotions, their spirituality, all of that to be really good. So how the frick are we going to have all of it happen? That's when it gets interesting.
Feeds it too, because if I'm spiritually if I'm feeling spiritually empty, it's going to be real hard for me to be successful when I show up.
Be nice to freaking customers.
Yeah, bro. Not be just upset and pissed off all the time. If I'm feeling just disconnected. So it's, man.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's exciting. Yeah, it's a big challenge.
But then I feel like it's my responsibility as the leader to make sure that we're hitting that goal. Because if not, then what the frick am I doing? What am I doing? We're not hitting it, and I'm just all right, well, I don't do anything. I don't motivate. I don't freaking try to change some processes. I'm just all right, we didn't hit it. Let's try again. What am I doing? I'm no, I gotta try a different strategy, because I feel like it's my responsibility as the leader to make sure that we are hitting our freaking goals, because I want to take us out. I want to go to Mexico. I want those things for us as a team too. And so, it's a lot of responsibility. It's interesting, because it makes me think of sports, and the way that people play sports is very much the way that they do life. Mm-hmm. And so I think about just ultimate frisbee yesterday. Before, when I was just on the team, dude, I went, was relaxed, didn't care at all. Yesterday, dude, I used the restroom 4 times before in the day. I looked at the frisbee, the spreadsheets, my heart rate started going. So when I'm in leadership, it's another level of responsibility. It feels like it's scary.
Man.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just what you said made me think of doing it as a team is so interesting. So it just makes me think of, it's maybe an exercise of make me think okay, the New England Patriots, when Bill Belichick and Tom Brady were just winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl, that is, football is a team sport. Mm-hmm. It's not Tom Brady is the GOAT, Bill Belichick could be the GOAT too, but at the end of the day, there's 52 guys on the team, and somehow something happened with 52 guys where it was a combination of talented guys. Yeah, awesome. Obviously Tom Brady had to be very talented along with every other person on the field, and yet there had to be something. I don't know if it was a spiritual thing or an energetic thing or some sort of collaborative energy that came together that resulted in Super Bowl victories, because Tom Brady alone on the field could not win a Super Bowl. he had to have everyone else around him. And so it's that interesting thing of like Tom Brady's pushing himself to be the best. Like you push yourself, we're all pushing ourselves to be the best. But also, how do we do this together? Because it's not bodybuilding where it's just me up on stage. It's like, dude, it's all of us. So it's like, it just really gets my brain thinking of like, okay, like what does that look like for us to all win together? Well, I have to win myself, and it has to be within our context. So that's just, I don't know, it really stretches my mind, which is exciting.
Yep.
Yeah, you all have to be 100% bought in, that's for sure. I guess we'll bring it back to the questions, and we'll wrap it up. We'll start with Ryan, just because he was TC for a while, just talking about real estate and how it's definitely a little more difficult than what it seems. But what's like the biggest disaster you guys have dealt with during a deal? I have one that comes to mind, but if you don't have anything, I can just talk about this one.
Biggest disaster. Yeah, I would, if you want to rip it for us.
I don't know if it's the biggest disaster. It just came to my mind immediately. Like, I remember we had a place in Garrett. We got it cleaned up and everything. Everything was finally done. We were about ready to list it. And then someone goes to the property and they're like, there's someone here. Like, there's someone in this property. It ended up being a squatter. Love dealing with squatters. And then we finally got him out. And then Ryan was like, mind if you just go out there and clean it up just to make sure it's ready and, just make it look a little bit better. I was like, sure, go there. There's a bunch of meat again. There's a ton of corn dogs. The place is completely trashed. Like, he did horrible things to that place. It smelled horrible. I had to go in, put an ozone, went in with a literal gas mask, grabbed bags of trash of meat and put it in my car. My car smelled like it for weeks. And I just remember that specific, I feel like it was 313. Do you guys remember our Garrett deals?
I remember that street, dude.
I thought it was 111.
I thought it was 616. No, 611.
That was South Peters.
Like
that wasn't that one.
Peters, yeah, maybe it was.
Different one.
I don't remember what.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but I just remember we were literally about. I think it might have been listed, and the squatter got in there. And I was
I remember that. Yeah.
Dude, like the fact that happens is, and the fact that is allowed is crazy to me. Like squatters' rights, I don't understand that. But that was a disaster for sure.
Squatters' rights here in Indiana? I'm kind of surprised.
I feel like they do. I don't know. Maybe we need to check that, but.
Yeah, dude, I remember one of the worst ones, in my opinion, that brought me to a very emotional place was we sold a property. It was in escrow. It was supposed to close like 3 or 4 times in a row. We just kept extending. And this is back when we didn't have a project manager. And so, like, I was just maintaining them from a distance. It was in Kendallville. We go to close on it. I call, turn the utilities off, do whatever, and then we close on it on, I think, a Thursday or a Friday. So I turned the utilities off like the Monday before because we were supposed to close. I forgot that I turned them off, and then the pipes burst, but they didn't find out. We close on Friday. They go in like Sunday or Monday, like so 3 or 4 days later, the pipes burst, and there's just water all over the place and mold. And we're not sure when exactly it happened, but it seemed like it happened before, like while I was just sitting there. But nobody was checking on it or anything like that. So then I remember we were just negotiating with them. They said they wanted like $30,000, and we're like we want to help, because like we felt like we were responsible for this and we want to help. We told them we'd give them 10, and they were like, no way. And I felt like 10 could probably get it done and fixed. And they just said no. And we didn't want our guys doing it, even though we knew we could get it done for 10, because then we felt like there's more liability and stuff. So they're calling these other inspector companies and stuff who they do mold remediation, and they always are so expensive because they want to charge you an arm and a leg for that stuff because they know it's mold remediation. But anyway, then we get into a lawsuit over the thing, and I just remember getting all mic'd up and having to do the mediation and all that, or not the mediation, it was, I can't remember what they called it, but let's just call it an interrogation for right now. Deposition, yes, that was it. They're just asking me all these questions. I was getting so nervous, and then like my heart rate was just going crazy because it just felt really weird. Like they're recording me, and then she's over here in the corner. Like every time I said anything, she was like, she was just mad. She was in the same room, so it was just so interesting. And then after I left, I thought about that. I'm like, what's the worst case scenario? They sued us for like 40 or 50 grand. I'm like, okay, we pay 40, 50 grand, and we move on with life. Whatever. It's not that big of a deal. And so again, I started playing out worst case and realized even if we did it, yeah, it would suck. But my life goes on, their life goes on, and like we could have like figured this out without them. Long story short is we ended up just settling at 20, and then we had to pay like $10,000 in lawyer fees, and so we ended up paying 30 anyway. I'm pretty sure the same thing happened to them. They had to pay $10,000 in lawyer fees, so they got 20. They had to pay 10, so they would just got 10 anyway. So it was like not good for any of us. But yeah, it was just like that was one of the worst scenarios in my opinion, just like to be caught in, because it was after closing. We already signed, everything's already done. Technically, like they were supposed to verify the condition, and they had a 24-hour walkthrough they could have done. They chose not to, so it's like the responsibility was a little bit on both of us. So it was definitely that was an unfortunate situation though.
Oh yeah, that sounds brutal. I think that happened right before I came, like right before. I remember hearing about that. So
yeah, your dad lives right down the street on Sargent Street. It's on Sargent. Well, it's actually technically not on Sargent, but it's right off Sargent.
I'm sure I've seen the place before, but yeah, that's crazy.
It was definitely crazy.
That makes me think about Gay Street that we are still working on, actually. It's been 2 years, and we closed on a property, and we still don't own it. Technically, kind of we do, but we don't
have rights to it.
But we do. Yeah.
It's in our name, but we don't have rights to it.
I was told, Dakota's been given a little bit different of a timeline, but I was told it could be another year before we get the property.
Oh my goodness.
Is somebody there? Like, so is it empty? Like
3 years, and we closed on it, and we haven't even
going to be there by the time?
And we knew the situation before we closed on it and signed a bunch of stuff that was supposed to protect us. And then I found out that there was a exemption signed at closing that was thrown in there. Even though we talked about it and we got the, so if you just want to tell them the scenario about how that happened, if you remember.
I don't.
Okay, so basically we go to sign it up. It was a land contract that was recorded, but then we needed the amortization schedule to show that she missed payments. Yep. So then we go and get that, and then we had her sign that those were the missed payments and stuff. So that was supposed to give us still the title insurance.
Transfer the rights to ownership of those payments owed.
And title insurance. And so then what we found out was they actually put that as an exception, even though they told us that's what we needed to not do the exception, is if we got that signed, then we'd be good. Well, come to find out, that is not how it happened. So now we got the property, but we don't have the rights to it. We go to court. It was not they couldn't keep records of it, all this other stuff, and so it was not proven. And the lady who sold it to us just does not very smart, it seems like. So it's been a hassle, and so now we got a property that we don't really have access to. We don't get payments on, and we don't even know if we're going to be able to keep it. And we paid $25,000 for it.
Yeah. Ryan, you're like best friends with that lady, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I've seen her. I've went to her house probably like 10 times. Yeah.
I went out there. She's living in it, or
no,
the
not
owner
her daughter.
that sold us the property.
Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What the heck?
You have anything, Johnny?
Man, I think I just blot that stuff out of my mind, so I don't even think about it. But the thing that immediately comes to mind is that there was a property that we brought in, and it was a foreclosure situation, and it was really like a lot of pushing. And it's like, okay, we got the auction that's scheduled, and like everything's so last minute. Like I think we were literally calling the bank on the day of the auction just to like try to get it stopped. And then it's like we did on the day of the auction, we successfully kicked the can down the road by another week, gave us a little more time, and then spent so much time like working with the seller, like negotiating, trying to figure out, hey, how can we make this happen? How can we help you? The situation got messed up with the payoff where she was going to have to bring a bunch of money to the closing table. So we're figuring out all this stuff, problem after problem coming up, all to just like help this lady not lose her house. And then I think finally after maybe at least maybe 2 months, 6 to 8 weeks, something like that, we finally have like a second or third closing date scheduled. And 2 days before the closing date is scheduled, or maybe literally the day before, I get a picture from somebody that says, hey, you know, can you go ahead and send my earnest money back or whatever? And it's a situation is like basically it's just a burned down house. And so that house that we had poured so much time into and effort and communication and negotiating and helping and whatever we could do burns down the day before closing.
And we were going to make $30,000.
Yeah, going to make a bunch of money on it.
That was like 2 months ago.
Yeah, and she was going to like not have to have a foreclosure on her record, and you know, because obviously a foreclosure just screws your credit forever. And so like, yeah, today's today. That's one of those things where it's like, what happened? You know, it makes me think like, did this happen on purpose or not? Like, I there's no way to know. There's no way to prove it. I mean, I guess maybe the insurance company will work hard to prove something, but that was just a situation where it's like, It's so funny because in that instant you look at the picture and it's just like you just see a burnt down house and you're like, oh, well, all of that was for nothing. But I don't think it was for nothing because, like, what a cool story.
That's a cool story.
It shows you close those deals as soon as we possibly freaking can.
Yeah.
100%. Well, that's all we have for this episode today. So just a reminder, real estate isn't all sunshine and rainbows as people make it seem. So
Sometimes it's fire
thanks for
and
watching.
cockroaches.
Yeah, sometimes it is that. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
See you, bye.
Later.